Hello, my name is Isabel Wolf from Argyle High School Troop 6015, and today I will be showing you my Makeup IE designs. Thank you. So the show that I am doing today is Mana La Mancha by Dale Wasserman. It is a musical based on the show Don Quixote. And on the first page, I have my design statement where it basically tells us that Mana La Mancha in the characters, it's a prison, and basically these actors who are in the prison are supposed to put on this story of Don Quixote, which Miguel Cervantes, the original playwright of Don Quixote, is the star lead in this musical. And he goes through his musical and explains how Don Quixote is seen as insane, but he really just finds the beauty in the chaos. And that's kind of where I'm looking at as my design theme and statement. So that's where this explains the show. For my research, like I had said earlier, Mana La Mancha is based off the show Don Quixote. And what I can see from this musical is that it shows how crazy and insane thoughts, which basically escapes you from reality, can get you through chaotic circumstances, trauma, other things such in life, just as Miguel Cervantes, in real life, he went through war and he had very traumatic instances during, so he had a very painful, terrible life afterwards. And in the show, he states that how he gets away from all of his chaotic trauma, PTSD that he served time in the war, he gets away from it as he just starts writing poems and he escapes himself through these poems. So I wanted to use that as kind of my overlook all of on the show. So my theme is to find the beauty in the chaos. And hectic things could happen to figure out in life, but we can control how we see it. So basically, Don Quixote in the show, he sees life how he depicts himself. He looks at life how he wants to, which is to find a windmill and think it's a monster, to find a standard woman and he thinks that she is some princess, Dulcinea. So that's kind of where I led with my design theme, which is gestural abstract artwork. It's to find the beauty in the chaos and to find how abstract paintings are very all over the place, scattered, intuitive painting, as I call it. And it's like this intuitive mindset that Don Quixote has in life where he can think whatever, however he wants to. And no matter if someone judges him or not, he doesn't really see it as that because he sees it in his own eyes. And that's kind of how I wanted to find the beauty in the world, find the beauty in the chaos for gestural abstract artwork. For my script requirements, the actor playing Miguel Cervantes and Don Quixote has to have two separate looks throughout the show. One on his face playing Miguel Cervantes that shows his dark, harsh reality, which has very dark, cooler tone makeup. And I needed some way to pull that away from Don Quixote, which he is in half the scenes. So I wanted to make sure Don Quixote had a very bright look, vibrant, because he sees the world as his playground. He sees it as he is just living life and he sees just how he wants to. So in order to do that, I had to make some adjustments, and I had Don Quixote with a mask, and he puts the mask on, which doesn't cover his mouth, doesn't cover his eyes. So some of the Miguel Cervantes makeup seeps through the mask, but you can still tell that there's a different person showing through the mask, which is Don Quixote. All the makeup on the actors will actually have to be put on stage, so they will all have dark, muggy makeup from the start as a prisoner, and then throughout the show they'll start putting more and more vibrant, bright makeup to show Don Quixote's reality coming to life. Some of the constraints that I have was to make sure that Don Quixote's mask doesn't fully touch on his face, so the makeup behind, which is Miguel Cervantes' makeup, it doesn't clash and rub and mess up. Another one that I had is to make sure that there's space for the mask. So like I said earlier, I don't want the mask to completely cover the makeup, so I need a little space between the two. Makeup has to be doable for the actors to do on stage, so that's kind of where I came in along with gestural abstract artwork, because it's not so perfect, as I said earlier. It's all over the place. It's intuitive. It's so the actors can do it on stage and feel confident with what it looks, but it has to be a calmed chaos. It can't be all over the top, everywhere. Each character has a different set of shapes, circles, styles, and what I'll get to with techniques is every single actor has a different look that they have to do on their makeup. So a constraint that I had was to make sure all of the makeups that I did set for them had to be doable. For budget reasons, to keep costs low, we will have no wigs, but in order to make that up, we will be making all of the headpieces from scratch by hand. I think it looks a lot more gestural, intuitive that way, so that's kind of how I was going through along with that. We would all use the standard Mehron cream palettes. Although those are a little bit on the more expensive side, I do believe that those are more vibrant colors to show the show that we are supposed to be doing, which is vibrant color and life. And Don Quixote's mask will all be handmade as well. So it shows the gestural abstract artwork that we are going for. For my inspiration, I actually made an inspiration board, and I used only gestural abstract artworks. On the outside, showing the harsh reality, will be dark, muggy paintings on the outside. And on the inside, it is the windmill, the famously known windmill for the show, which is what Don Quixote thinks is a monster. And so I wanted to portray that with colorful, gestural, abstract artwork to show the difference between the two. Some of these paintings at the top actually are paintings, abstract paintings, that are made by Don Quixote, not by Don Quixote, but made in looks of Don Quixote. For a specific color palette, as I said earlier, I wanted it all over the place, very many colors, so I just chose rainbow as my color palette. A specific abstract artwork that I wanted to choose for my theme, per se, is this one at the top. It is Don Quixote Takes a Wife by Jim Whalen, and I think it shows Don Quixote's life as the yellow, as the bright, but it also shows Miguel Cervantes' life seeping through the black, dark harshness of the world. It seeps through. For my techniques, it's all about feeling. So basically, just as how I said earlier about intuitive, abstract, all over the place, it's intuitive painting with a basic idea of each character. So each character will have a basic, you need to make sure you have circles or squares or lines here, here, here. And they'll have a basic idea of what their makeup has to look like, but also their face, quote unquote, is a canvas. It's just like a painting. It's all over the place. Circles and lines, like I had said earlier, are specific to each character and where they are. Some techniques that I used for the makeup are I brushed it on, there's splatter, there's drawn everywhere, and each forms a color of each liking. Now onto the makeup looks. Each makeup look has a set preliminary sketch, which I basically just hand drew a couple of ideas on the face with pencil, and then I go on to the next part, the next page, which is the full rendering. So here is Miguel Cervantes' preliminary sketch. I kind of wanted a box to show that he just lives in a trapped society. These bubbles kind of show. I wanted to put color on the sides to show that he has some imagination, but overall he has darker, more brown, blue, cooler tones to show that he just has an overall dark, harsh scene in life. And then for my visual, I went along with the same thing with darker colors, but instead of putting color, I really just only wanted to put color on the eyes because he sees all of the imagination. He writes down through his eyes. He sees all of his imagination. So I wanted to put a pop of color on his eyes. Other than that, it's all dark, cooler tones, the big square in the middle. Now to go on to Don Quixote. It's very different from beforehand because it has very many circles and all over the place. And like I said earlier, all the makeup looks, the makeup that I had previously on his face, kind of like the eyes and the lips, it still will seep through. But this is a very colored, over the top. the circles showing that he lives in just his own life, his dream. These are very contrast of the first look for Miguel Cervantes, which I wanted to show the differences between the two. And for the full rendering, I wanted to make sure and show a very different contrast to the first look, so I put a lot of warm colors to show his passion for life, and his attitude towards everything is very childlike. So that's why I put the rainbows and little dots everywhere. It looks like a child's painting, and that's kind of what I see gestural abstract artwork is, all over the place and on the top. So some of the makeup from his Miguel Cervantes is showing through his lips and his eyes, but overall it shows a very Don Quixote makeup look. For Aldonza / Dulcinea, I wanted her to have an all over the top makeup look. She has a very circular path with these men in the tavern, so I wanted to have circles all over her face, but also on the outside I wanted to have vibrant colors to show her aggressive yet passionate personality. So when I come to the full one, she has a line in the middle I added instead of just keeping it normal. She has a line in the middle to show she finally found a straight path with it, which is her love of Don Quixote. On the side, she has circles, like I had said earlier. They're filled with cooler tones to show the darkness and the trauma from these men, but also she has vibrant reds, yellows, and oranges, pinks along the warmer tones so she can show her vibrant colors. Another look that I did was Pedro, which is one of the main men at the inn tavern that we see. Normally, he's kind of the strongest, the toughest, the meanest. So I wanted to have straight lines on him to show he is harsh, he is go-getting, he is all of the things, right? He is very just strong and sturdy. So that's kind of where I went with this. The colors are reddish pink and black to show that these are he can be strong and courageous and aggressive, and have the black to show death. He kind of resembles death in this as well because he's the main antagonist in the show. So that's kind of where I went along with his makeup. And for my last look, I have the Duke. He is the leader of the prison, so I wanted the leader of the prisoners. So I wanted to give him kind of the drips, because drips kind of mean like gross, muggy. So that's kind of where I went along with this. But also it has color in it, which I wanted to implement color in the drips and in some of the lines up here to show that even though he is a prisoner, he still has some light to him because he is intrigued by Miguel Cervantes' play, but I also still have the harsh lines of the prisoner-esque. And for the full rendering, just as I did before, I wanted to make sure he had the drips to show that even though he is enthusiastic and keeps Miguel on his toes, trying to keep him doing it, he still has that harsh drip to him. I still have the harsh boxes on him and a big red line because red normally leans like scar and harsh, so that's kind of where I wanted to go with his makeup.